All right, with us now, CNN senior military analyst, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO and partner of the Carlyle Group and an international investment firm, retired Admiral James Stavridis. Admiral, thanks so much for being with us. Vladimir Putin offering a 3-day ceasefire starting May 8th. What do you read into that?
It's a lie, would be my immediate reaction. And, you know, we've been watching this movie now for 3 years. The lying started when Putin and Lavrov and his entire team said, oh, we're not going to invade Ukraine. We're just doing military maneuvers on the border. That was 3 years ago. The lies about the war crimes in Bucha, the lie after lie after lie. So when you stack all that up, the only reason Putin would offer this ceasefire, in my view, is A, to placate President Trump, to show a talking point of, yeah, we threw out a 3-day ceasefire. And then B, don't forget, the worst thing that could happen for Putin in terms of the global stage would be during the big military parade that Alex just talked about. It's a very big deal in Russia. What if there were a bunch of drone strikes by the Ukrainians right in the middle of that? So I think Putin is trying to fireproof his parade. I see zero sincerity in it. I think it's unlikely to move the needle.
You know, you mentioned the fact that this is the type of statement Putin's been making for 3 years or longer, depending on how you analyze it. President Trump put out a post over the weekend where he suggested for the very first time that in these talks with Russia, maybe Putin is, quote, just tapping me along. What is it, do you think, that made the president realize that now?
I think he is watching what has been happening and watching Putin play. He said tapping, I'll say rope-a-dope. Putin is just bouncing off those ropes and then coming back to smack the Ukrainians in the mouth again and again and again. He's been insincere, he's lying, and I think for Donald Trump, he is not a chump who is going to be taken down by lies from Putin ultimately. So I think there's, like for all of us, when we have a friend that we would like to work with, then suddenly we realize not a friend of ours. I think that's what's occurred. So final thought here, John, it's pretty clear what Putin wants. He wants sanctions relief. He wants to hold on to 20% of Ukraine, and he wants no path to NATO for the Ukrainians.
I don't think there's any question about that. Just one last question on that front. So you think this 3-day ceasefire is another, throw of the rope in the rope-a-dope, as it were?
I do. And I think that Putin, again, is trying to fireproof his big parade. And secondly, he wants to be able to at least say to his friend Donald, oh, I was the one who was willing to give a 3-day ceasefire. That's just a talking point. It's not going to move the needle on negotiations. Final thought, President Trump really needs to put the pressure on Vladimir Putin now.
It'll be interesting to see if that does happen, if they use this as a chance to lean in a little bit more. I want to get your comments very quickly on something that President Trump said to The Atlantic in an interview that just published this morning, kind of his most expansive comments on Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. He said, quote, I think he's gonna get it together. I had a talk with him, a positive talk, but I had a talk with him, he said. It's just the phrasing there. I think he's gonna get it together sort of implies that he doesn't yet have it together, or certainly that he hasn't had it together. You, in your old gig, you dealt with a lot of secretaries of defense. Is it the type of job that you want to be learning on the job?
No, of course not. And not only did I deal with secretaries of defense working for them, I was actually the senior military assistant, the 3-star billet in the Secretary of Defense's office for Donald Rumsfeld. So I know that office extremely well. I know the pressures of it. Don Rumsfeld went into that job having already been the Secretary of Defense and had many, many challenges. It is, in many ways, the hardest job in Washington. And I think it is not a place you want to be kind of learning as you go.
All right, Admiral James Stavridis, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Always great speaking with you.